Wild things happen in Faerun all the time, like alien abductions for example, but they happen a little bit more often when our Sorcerer is around. Since our naive spellcaster has never been able to control their magical abilities, they keep everyone at arm's length lest they unexpectedly, hurt them. Despite this, the world is in danger and needs a hero, and by wild happenstance, only we can save it with our powerful unwieldy magic, our charming and trusting demeanor, and maybe even just a little bit of luck. Can it be done? Well, we got one way to find out. But first, the rules. No other party members, though temporary companions just summons are a-okay. No respecking, no multiclassing, no illithid powers, no karmic dice, no barrelmancy or chessmancy, no saving in the middle of combat, and we're playing with the honor mode rule set, so we'll be keeping it that way. With all that said, let's move on to character creation. Starting off is our race, for which we'll be going human, mainly just because I haven't played one before, but the light armor and shield proficiencies we get from it are nice too. Our class of choice is of course Sorcerer, specifically a wild magic sorcerer, which gives us a 1 in 20 chance to cause something wacky to happen every time we cast a leveled spell. Those odds go up to 50% after using Tides of Chaos to give ourselves advantage on a roll once per short rest. We get cantrips to choose from as well, taking Bone Chill, Ray of Frost, Friends, and Minor Illusion for a mix of damage and utility. And for our leveled spells, we learn both Magic Missile and Mage Armor to give ourselves more consistency. God knows we'll need it. Then we choose Entertainer as our background, since our surges were always loved by crowds, so long as they weren't sitting in the front row at least. Our ability scores and skill proficiencies end up looking like this, with an emphasis on charisma and constitution, so our spells hit hard and our concentration stays up. Finally, we give our shocking sorcerer an appropriate look for their journeys to come, and thus our newest untamed entertainer, Alakazam, is ready to take the stage and save the world. After a particularly bad surge, our magical master awakens on a burning nautiloid with a hankering headache and a strong suspicion something has gone awry. Alec trudges on towards the helm and immediately gets jumped by a different sort of alien, and then some small devils see the party and want to join in on the mayhem. Unfortunately for Lae'zel here, the shock from it all triggers a surge and blasts her into the abyss, leaving us once more as a solo adventurer. Thankfully, we're rather used to it, and a couple magic missiles is all it takes to clear out these imps. A moment later, and Alec has made it to the helm, and oh god, surely not all of this was because of their magic surge, right? Either way, thanks to some tactical dashing that we did before entering the room, it's pretty easy to run about. But we do get our first real surge here after a magic missile that makes it just a little tricky to kill anyone. It's a good thing we're not here to kill anyone. All we need to do is attach these tentacles together, go teleporting through space on our crashing ship, and land safely on a beach below with the help of an ominous voice in our head. The next morning, our chaotic conqueror is ready to start their journey proper by exploring the area. That means killing a helpless illithid and letting some friendly folks hanging by a grave with shovels know that they should probably clear out before some monsters crawl out of the ship, which lets Alakazam get their very first level up. At level 2, we unlock sorcery points, which will always be equal to our level and restore on a long rest. We can use these bad boys to create spell slots or vice versa, but more importantly, we unlock metamagics, specifically Twin Spell, which lets us dual cast a single target spell on separate creatures, and Distant Spell, which lets us drastically increase the range of our spells. As a little bit more at this level, we learn Expeditious Retreat for some defensive capabilities if need be. While we're exploring about, we find what are undoubtedly innocent folks beset upon by gruesome goblins, and thus we jump into action with our new power to save the day. To start, we blast the closest one with missiles, and I know it says we gain the ability to fly, but we don't. It's just lying. That happens sometimes. Then we skedaddle away with our Expeditious Retreat in the hopes that enemies don't focus on us. Unfortunately, they do, with an arrow straight to the skull. Let's try that one again. This time, Zevlor goes first and gives us all temp HP. Our magic missile actually rolls average damage and kills our target, and while our concentration does get broken, we don't immediately explode. The rest of the fight plays out pretty swimmingly. As our allies start dropping the enemies like crazy, we do our part here and there, but despite Alec's best efforts, one of our new friends, Aridin, bites the dust before we finish off the last of them. Afterwards, we head inside the Druid Grove and find out that the Tiefling refugees staying here are not too happy. Still, we remind them of the loving power of family and friends in order to convince them to protect each other. Then we buy a handy-dandy shield from the blacksmith, meet a nice old lady who offers to help heal us at her home later, learn just how much the Druids hate the Tieflings, save a kid from their temporary leader, learn that the true leader Halsin seems to have been captured by the goblins nearby, play a little jig with a girl nearby that teaches us how to use literally every instrument, and meet some trustworthy kids who convince Alec that it's a good thing to steal the Druid's idol. And the best part is we do it all without any spontaneous magical explosions. Once we're back in the wilderness, we get jumped by Raphael, who immediately reveals himself to be a devil in disguise. But he actually seems really nice and offers to fix our tadpole problem for us, though first he's kind enough to make sure that we have the chance to find a better offer, so he says he'll come back at a future date. Later on, we find this handsome fella named Scratch, whose master seems recently deceased. He's not willing to leave his side quite just yet, so we give him our scent to find our camp when he is. As Alec continues into the nearby town, some amiable goblins let us know that we're trespassing. And despite our previous run-ins with their pals, this lot is very understanding when we tell them we're just passing through. The little sweethearts also give enough XP to hit level 3, giving us second level spell slots alongside a new spell in the form of shield to keep us nice and safe whenever we get into a tight spot. And we also learn the quicken spell meta magic, allowing Alec to spend sorcery points in order to cast a spell as a bonus action. I can't stress enough how handy this one's gonna be. Elsewhere in the village, we find more goblins playing a little rough with one of their pals, but we convince them that's not very nice and they see it our way as they get skedaddling. Naturally, we also untie our newest pal before going on our own way. Alec keeps looking for the actual goblin camp and instead winds up at this burning inn, where we bust down a door in order to free this lady, who asks us to do something very personal and then gives us the Spellsparkler. This handy-dandy staff gives us 2 lightning charges whenever we damage an enemy with a spell, and so long as we have one, our attack rolls gain a +1 boost and everything we do deals an extra 1 damage. And if we hit 5, they get consumed in order to deal a d8 damage. Really good for something like Magic Missile. Yet still, the camp is nowhere to be found, so we continue northwards and stumble across some rather aggressive Gith who don't seem to like us much. They do ask why they should keep us alive, and after explaining it in great detail, only requiring 3 whole checks, they decide Alec is cool enough to let live, tell us to visit their creche with some sort of weapon, and fly away. We see another one of them disappear into thin air right by this old bridge, and upon investigating, realize the ghostly Gith was leading us towards the camp at last. Unfortunately, at this point, we get hit by a mind blast and shown the leaders of the Absolute's cult that we're up against. But before things get too bad, we get rescued by this mysterious lady with a fun artifact. As much as we'd love to have her join us, Alec can feel their magic about to explode, so we tell her to clear off. Then finally we jump into the camp proper, where almost immediately we get into a scuffle with Crusher, knock him on his butt before things get too bad, and later realize that our magic seems to have made him immortal. Lest he suffer a fate worse than death in the form of eternal life, we use our strongest magics to put him out of his misery and by sheer coincidence grab his ring. This little trinket gives us a 3-meter boost to our move speed to help us kite around enemies that much easier. From here we head inside to the interior after talking it out with the guards, get branded by this kindly goblin who says it'll help us, and then follow her to her private chambers where she can remove our parasite. All we have to do is drink this tasty little cocktail. Let's hope there's no side effects. Well, it wouldn't be the first time Alec has woken up in jail after drinking something from a stranger. It's a good thing Raphael really is looking out for us by sending someone to save us. Now that's someone we can trust. Regardless, we return to exploring the camp, where we find and free an imprisoned Voluthap Gadarm, who asks to meet us at our camp later. Then we meet Abdurak, who offers to alleviate whatever pain we have. Naturally, we take this lovely gentleman up on the offer, but he has a rather, let's say interesting way of helping us out. However, help out he does. As for this, we get Leviatar's Love, a permanent buff that grants a +2 to attacks and wisdom saves when we're on low health. During our explorations, we also find a secret passageway in Guts Chambers, leading all the way down to the Underdark. Once we're down here, we murk a Minotaur, snatch a sword that you should really keep in mind for later, and even meet some Myconids who let us roam about their colony, wherein we find a sickly gnome in need of an antidote, whose family has been enslaved by nearby Dwergar. Naturally, we agree to free them, and she gives us the Boots of Speed for our journey. These killer kicks let us dash as a bonus action, so we can easily reposition as much as we like, and eventually replace Expeditious Retreat now that we don't need it. To help us free the slaves, we also talk to Blurg and buy the Psychic Spark, an amulet that gives us a free cast of Magic Missile per day, and also makes it so every time we cast Magic Missile, we get an extra dart. While we're making our way to go free our future friends across the lake, a Dwergar search party gets the jump on Alec first. But upon seeing our brand and boots, they think we're part of their Cultist Club and easily let us steal their boat so we can free those slaves. After sailing across the lake, we find that even the bad guys have a bit of tension in their ranks, as Nier, the leader here, is not well liked since he managed to trap himself in a rock fall. Either way, just making it here is enough to let our hero hit level 4, granting yet more spell slots alongside Blur, Mage Hand, and we swap out Expeditious Retreat for Hold Person. Mage Hand for the utility that it can provide, Blur for the defensive capabilities, and Hold Person for the offensive help. But we also get the Dual Wielder feat, allowing us to dual wield most weapons we can think of, since 2 staves are always better than 1. As an extra treat, it also gives +1 AC so long as we're dual wielding. For now, this just means we're throwing Melf's First Staff in our offhand for the extra +1 to spell save DC and spell attacks. Before we figure out how to fight the small battalion stationed here, we search around and find the Protecty Sparkswall. Some nice robes that increase our AC and saving throws by 1 so long as we have lightning charges, while also increasing our spell save DC by 1. A moment later, we stumble across a pair of dwarves who seem to be plotting against some of the others. Luckily, it's as easy as breathing for the affable Alec to convince them to be our new besties, and just like that, our controversial cultist companions share the plan. First, we gotta sneak up on this scrying eye and push it into the yawning abyss below. Step 2, we cast Blur and a surge entangles us. Step 3, we blast open the cave-in to free Nier. Step 4, what was step 4 again? Oh man, he just killed a slave. Oh right, that's it. Step 4, kill him to free the slaves, or what's left of the slaves. The fight kicks off and we cast Magic Missile, almost one-shotting someone, while a surge triggers a spike growth all around us, forcing us to top up our HP using a potion. Alec's fearsome foes start mind-controlling folks left and right, leading to our new buddy Brithvar shoving one of his own men to their death. Luckily, a different pal of ours gives one of the baddies a taste of their own medicine too. Back to us, and a few more allies join the fray. Another cast of our missiles takes out one goon and injures the others, and with our bonus action, we teleport out of their midst using a Misty Step scroll. Another round goes by with a solid back and forth between both sides, though nothing more extreme than just a few love taps. Evidently, a 1 damage Ray of Frost from us means Alec's heart also isn't in it. Surely we can just talk this one out. Or, maybe not, I guess. Still, there's no reason for us to expend too many resources, as the fight is definitely tipping in the good guys' favor. The baddies aren't doing much as they whack away. Meanwhile, our side is making pretty good headway. Unfortunately, as the rounds go by, we do lose more of our new friends than we would like, but the enemies lose just as many people too. Before you know it, it's just us and Brithvar versus Nier, but the Big B is intent on murdering himself with the help of the Dark Elf's legendary action, and soon it's just the two of us. However, with a Ray of Frost each turn, along with our Boots of Speed, we can kite really well, forcing him to dash each turn, letting us spam spells freely until the old sport is turned into an ice sculpture. One of our new friends does say he wants to take the slaves with him after the dust has settled, but we give him a polite reminder that slavery is bad and he's on his way with no troubles. And as it turns out, out, one of the slaves is our pal from the windmill, Barkus Root, who tells us more of his friends are in a place called Moonrise Towers, the HQ of the cult that we're fighting. We let him know we'll free them for him, and he decides to crash at our camp until then. At this point, we make a quick detour back to the Blighted Village where we bump into some ogres that we convince to fight on our behalf whenever we need. All we gotta do is blow their war horn and hope the sight of charging ogres doesn't cause our magic to explode. For now though, it's time to clear out the remaining 2 evil goblin leaders. First though, we break some drums and take out the odd isolated goblin here and there. It does hurt a little bit since some of them were pretty understanding, but we're pretty sure they're still bad guys anyways, so they've probably got it coming. Even if some of them are immortal just like Crusher, managing to heal even through Bone Chill, but sooner or later we get pretty much every goblin that's wandering around. Once that's all done, we head back to our camp and find Volo has an operation ready to fix us up well and good. All he needs to do is dig around behind our optic nerve a wee bit, then break out the old ice pick for a quick tap, stab. Good thing Alec happened upon this expert doctor in the wild. Unfortunately, despite his expertise, the tadpole proves stronger than our eye and we have to stop the operation early. He does give us a handy dandy new eye that lets us see invisible things, so it seems our trust wasn't misplaced. And then he sprints off all the way to Act 3. After that, we finally head to Minthara, one of the leaders, and lure her to this rickety bridge with a minor illusion before blasting it to pieces and watching her plummet down to an untimely demise. We do get confronted by a guard, but help them realize it was just some harmless fisticuffs. That being said, we do start a scuffle anyways with the help of his strength elixir just so we can clear out this whole side in case we need a kite during our fight with the last goblin leader. Speaking of, we climb up to the rafters of the room he's in, precast both Blur and Featherfall, just in case one of them has a void bulb, you know? Then we fire up the old magic missile machine gun to start things right, meaning we also quicken spell out more on our first turn, triggering a wild magic surge that gives us a blur again. Thanks. The enemies, for their part, don't really do much. One tries to summon reinforcements, but, well, there's none left, and the rest of them just spend their turns missing us. When it gets back to Alec, they fire off another quick barrage before hopping all the way down over here to avoid getting surrounded, making our foolish foes once more waste their turns, this time by dashing towards us instead, leading to the most beautiful clump of baddies you ever did see, ripe for a glyph of warding to take most of them out. And with one more turn of dash kiting on Dror, all it takes is a single magic dart to take him out, and a few more whacks after that to take out the stragglers. Upon returning to the tieflings, they've already heard the good news and are planning a party at our camp later tonight in order to celebrate. In the meantime, since the druids don't really need it anymore, we figure it's about time we grab that idol for that nice young lady from earlier, making sure to do it in a darkness cloud and teleport out just in case that evil druid Kaga decides to stop us. Upon delivering it to the lovely young lady, she gives us a heartfelt thanks alongside the Ring of Protection, a terrific trinket that gives +1 to both our AC and saving throws. From here, we get hitting the road towards the mountain pass to at last visit our Githyanki friends in their creche. Along our way, night comes, and while the tiefling party is nowhere to be seen, we do get that funny artifact that protected us earlier just showing up in our bags. And it really seems to want to stick with us, so stick with us it does. Once we make it to the mountain pass, we enjoy the sights with a beautiful gondola ride, find some Gith slaughtering bad guys, which must mean they're the good guys, and find a hidden door into their creche after they very rudely lock us out. Our little artifact ain't too happy about this, but we would at least like some answers as to what's going on. At first, the guards are a wee bit overzealous, but we explain to them that we're already chums with their leader and they let us inside lickety-split. The moment we gain access to their cozy creche, we talk to a Jacques Nirgira in order to buy the gloves of dexterity. These bad boys set our dex all the way to 18, meaning our AC, initiative, and saving throws are all improved for a really good boost to our survivability. That uncertainty from our artifact is really getting to us though, and the voice in our head is telling us to do other things first, so we decide to tie up as many loose ends as we can, starting by exploring the temple above us and killing some kobolds. kobolds. They're not too hard to take out on their own, and so long as we use our boots of speed to stay far enough away, they're stuck dashing every turn just like the goblins. It is definitely slow going though, since we don't have any meaningful area of effect damage, but Magic Missile is kind of AoE if you think about it. Either way, faster than you can say anti-disestablishmentarianism, the kobolds are all cleared up and we've hit level 5. At this level, we get a couple 3rd level spell slots and a new spell to go alongside them. Inspired by our most recent scuffle, we decided to take the ever iconic Fireball, since Alec was gonna need some form of area damage sooner or later, and it's really hard to beat this classic. Then we take a nap to get our spell slots back after that fiasco, and look who should finally show up but Halsin, the head druid. He tells us all about Moonrise Towers, just like Barkus, but this time we also learn that there's actually an entrance to it already in the Underdark where we've been. All we need to do is find it. But that's a later problem. For now, we take a quick detour to blow up a few gnolls with our new spell, then we're off to the swamp to visit Ethel, who's beset upon by some uncouth whippersnappers. They're rambling about some missing sister or something, but when they start threatening the old lady, we know we have to step in. A good thing too. If Alec wasn't here to stop them, something really bad could have happened. As it turns out though, their sister Mayrina is with Auntie Ethel, but she just promised Mayrina she wouldn't tell them anything, so we agree to keep our silence as well. Once we get to her cottage, she's more than happy to see us, and even offers to remove the parasite in our head. All it will cost us is one measly eye, and would you look at that, we have one to spare. Though apparently she doesn't want to risk removing our only organic eye. How kind of her. She does mysteriously vanish Mayrina into a puff of smoke after, but I'm sure that's nothing. Regardless, we make ourselves at home and find a hidden pathway behind the fireplace. I'm sure Auntie Ethel won't mind if we take a look. And just like before, it's a good thing too, because as it turns out, this grotesque monster has stolen her name and is living in her basement. She's even holding Mayrina hostage. Naturally, Alec jumps into action after sneaking up on some evil henchmen that work for the wicked fake Ethel. With this gaggle of villains having kidnapped an innocent girl and their leader impersonating a friend, our hero's ire is raised and they stand absolutely no chance against the onslaught of attacks coming their way. After that, it's just a matter of jumping past all the traps and we find ourselves at the bottom. Upon arriving, we down a vigilance elixir, summon a mage hand, and then turn both of us invisible with a potion. Then Alakazam sneaks in to free Mayrina, fires off a darkness arrow, and a moment later combat kicks off as we fail to do water bottle shenanigans. Also, the darkness just straight up disappears out of nowhere while I was thinking of what to do next. Must have been a magic surge or something. So we have to fire another darkness arrow and quicken spell a magic missile onto the false Ethel and a water bottle we dropped to make her wet in order to double our lightning damage. This does trigger her legendary action, which summons even more of her clones than usual, but so long as we end our turn in the darkness cloud, they just, well, they do whatever this is. Since they're busy blowing themselves up, we use a speed pot to get out 2 more casts of magic missile on the cruel copycat, and she's begging for her life just like that. Even going so far as to offer us power if she lets us leave with Mayrina, but Alec lets her know that sure as heck ain't happening. We're getting both. The power gives us a +1 to our charisma, setting it up to 18. Mayrina, meanwhile, ain't too pleased with us for some reason, and from the way she's talking about the deal she had with that hag, Alec's starting to think that might have been the real Ethel. Maybe we shouldn't immediately trust everyone we meet. Well, either way, with that food for thought stuck in our head, it's about time we get cleansing the Dwergar rot, as our new fungal friend who will be joining us for a bit says. Meaning we head back to the beach, get one of the fellows there wet, and unleash a barrage of magic missiles. Their leader does summon a million zombies, but we've also got one of our own thanks to Sovereign Glut, who is likely not long for this world if he keeps taking hits like that. At the very least, the zombies are far enough away that they spend the whole round dashing up to us. Unfortunately, we're not far enough away to escape counterspell somehow. Honestly, the range on counterspell is wilder than anything Alec could ever do. But where Alakazam fails, the enemy is more than happy to succeed, blowing themselves up out of sheer pity. Now that we know it's gonna happen, we just use a Ray of Frost to bait out the counterspell, watch as one of the deadly Dwergar turn invisible, and as another blows themselves up again, actually removing himself from this mortal coil. Then we, complete a quest mid-combat, don't worry about it, I'm sure it wasn't important, and our spells finally finally start to go through as we get ready for a long kiting session with all these zombies. Thankfully, our boots of speed made it impossible for them to reach us, so we can just keep walking backwards as we whittle them down, and before you know it, it's just Alec and 2 Dwergar. Once it's just them, a couple casts of our favorite spell all but finishes off the first one, who we end up getting with an arrow, before restarting combat with Get Cold since he decided to just go home, I guess. He does, cowardly enough, go invisible, but we use the neat trick of rebinding our ping key to anything but the default and then pinging his portrait to find where he is anyways, letting us blast him with a well-aimed Ray of Frost. And even though Alec gets blinded the following turn, you don't actually need to be able to see to throw bombs. Upon informing the Myconids of all we've been up to, we get the well-deserved name of Peacebringer, as well as access to their stash, wherein we find 1/3 of a staff that we would very much so like to have. They also throw us a little dance party alongside giving us Bliss Spores, which grants a d6 bonus to all of our rolls until we next long rest. As we're wandering around looking for the other pieces of the staff, Alec's magic surges and seizes control of their limbs, causing them to shoot a petrified drow. Thankfully, it all works out as this drives a spectator out of hiding while we're far enough away to avoid any surprise, letting us throw a water bottle on it from afar as it immediately flies up and starts blasting away at our hero. Seeing there's no better time than now, we sound the war horn, and thankfully our ogre allies manage to hear it and charge to our aid. Then with a speed pot, we blast the ocular oddity a few times with some Ray of Frost. Our new bumbling besties take their sweet time getting to the spectator, but it at least seems to have its full attention on them. Since it's distracted, Alakazam takes full advantage, hitting a couple more times while it's still wet and even healing up a little as well. It's starting to get to the point where this fight might be a little out of our pay grade, especially since all the while more drow are becoming unpetrified and joining Charmed on the spectator's side. Over the course of the next couple rounds, we Ray of Frost a few more times while refreshing our speed pot so it doesn't run out, until we eventually decide this is getting too risky and hide around a corner. Not a moment too soon as well, since that very much so could have been us if we hadn't. One of the ogres decides to take out his anger on the drow that are running about, and boy golly does he, while the leader does his best to focus on the spectator, who is all over the place, even shooting at the drow as they slowly break out of their charms. Unfortunately, all it takes is a couple rounds, and it seems the friends we were counting on are not gonna make the cut either. Wanting to save at least the last one, our hero fires off the old tried and true to finish off our many-eyed opponent. After that, it's just the drow, and drow are no competition compared to what we've just been through. A couple turns later and we're in the clear. And wouldn't you know it, we get the second piece of our staff from one of the unpetrified drow. Our search then takes us to Filro the Forgotten and his hook horrors, who I think I saw performing at a festival once, and also the Boulette shows up to really make it a party. Filro rudely enough has shield, completely nullifying magic missiles, so we skedaddle far away and get ready to snipe him with frost rays. The plan works out wonderfully as we manage to drag him far away from most of the others and eventually get him with a bomb, only having to kill one hook horror as well, all the while the Myconids just watch. Thanks guys. Either way, with Filro's death we get the last piece to a brand new staff called the Mourning Frost. This sweet little +1 staff deals an extra 1d4 cold damage when we hit with it, increases all our cold damage by 1, and when we deal cold damage we have a chance to inflict chilled, which makes enemies vulnerable to cold, or we can make them wet to completely freeze them for a turn. We won't be using this right now, but keep it in mind for next act. At last we've made a decision. The voice in our head may not like it, but the Gith have been mostly friendly to us and we need answers. So we talk to their leader, and well, I think Alec's expression really sums up his rancid vibes. Either way, their god queen Vlaakith shows up before the conversation can go anywhere, and as you can see, we're real stoked to meet a real life god. Unfortunately, she wants us to go inside the prism and kill the voice in our head. Now, we're not one for killing friends, but we're more than happy to have the chance to talk to them. It does seem like this is a one-way street though, as they're not nearly as pumped as Alec is to meet face to face. Regardless, while we're here, she tells us that Vlaakith wants them dead because of some secret, and that secret is what's keeping us from transforming into a mind flayer. Naturally, we decide to trust our bestie. Anyone who can hear our thoughts and decides to stick around has to be a friend after all, although this does mean that they're gonna try and murder us on the way out. To help us Plus, our Dream Visitor gives us a temporary bless until our next long rest to make up for the bliss spores that we no longer have. We also summon a Mage Hand, and with scrolls cast Mirror Image for AC, False Life for temp HP, Fire Shield Chill for retaliation damage, and Blur for yet more defense. To finish off, we down a Speed Potion and activate Falara Louv's Shriek, making all nearby enemies take a 1d4 extra thunder damage. Then we step outside, activate turn-based mode to swallow a Vigilance Elixir, get Wargaz wet with our Mage Hand, and finally Magic Missile him to kick us off. This is where things get tricky, cause while we should have enough damage to knock him off in one round, him activating his legendary action in response to our missiles cancels the animation and stops our spell halfway through, meaning all our prep and number crunching beforehand was for naught as we get obliterated. The same thing happens next time too, but to add insult to injury, we also get a wild magic surge that says we get an extra action, but doesn't actually give us one at all. Oh, and he lives with 5 HP. Well, you can't expect to win them all. Third time's the charm though, as we make sure to use our weaker magic missiles first so it's not as important if they get cut off, and it actually works out as it should have from the very beginning. To ensure we don't get got by his Gith goons, we scramble our way into the corner of the room so they at least have to use their Misty Steps before they shoot at us and blast us with their mines. Next round, Alec is able to one-shot one of them while a surge creates a fog cloud, allowing them to easily hide in it while refreshing a speed pot. Since the enemies have no idea where we are, they can't target us and just skip their turns instead, making cleaning up 2 more the round after super duper easy. And with just 1 left, we use the last of our spell slots and the scroll of magic missile that we had laying around to barely get over the finish line. As a reward, we loot them for all their worth and find the necklace of elemental augmentation, which makes it so whenever we cast an elemental cantrip, we get to add our charisma modifier to the damage dealt. This also isn't going to get used right away, but it will very soon, so keep it in mind. From here, we sneak out and head to the Grimforge, where at last we find the entrance to the Shadowcurse lands where Moonrise towers and our hopefully less wild path to heroism awaits. Thank you all so much for watching as usual. This was played on patch 7 in case you were wondering why there isn't any of the new stuff featured, and also go check out the description for a total count of the wild magic surges thanks to 58th Falcon. That being said, a special thanks to our storyteller tier members Bunny Warren, Okankan, Mark Rainbow, Rat King, Vivian, Rune, Lumina, Beltfed Joe, Chance Hine, El Guardia, Zaplight25, Ramon Standalone, Witch Amy, Jesse Kate, and Tao.